Hello and welcome to Worldview at the Hindu with me, Suhasini Haidar. This week, Pakistan's decision to open trade ties with India and then to reverse that move have only deepened the mystery of India-Pakistan's dialogue process. We're going to unpack all the developments of the last month for you.
Pakistan Cabinet Economic Coordination Committee has approved resumption of Indo-Pakistan trade.
The Pakistan Prime Minister's U-turn. The Imran Khan government says no. India imports Article 370 restored in Jammu and Kashmir. India's official response is awaited.
Now, it has been more than a month since the two sides announced a ceasefire at the line of control, and signals went out that there was a broader peace process underway between Delhi and Islamabad, driven by a back channel which reportedly included National Security Advisor Ajit Doval on our side and Pakistan's Army Chief General Qamar Bajwa. Since then, despite the fact that there's been no official explanation of what's going on, we've seen a number of other signs that indicate some kind of attempt to defreeze that ties between both countries that, remember, haven't seen a high-level bilateral meeting since Prime Minister Modi visited Lahore in December 2015. Now, while the decision to allow imports of cotton and sugar that were announced by Pakistan's finance minister one day and then reversed or at least postponed is what Pakistan's foreign minister said the next day, that certainly seems to have been a false start. Take a look at some of the other actions that we have seen. To begin with, the ceasefire at the line of control has held firm for more than a month, coming after, remember, more than 5,000 violations in the year 2020. The language of that joint statement indicated coordination by diplomats as well as the military personnel involved. We've also seen softened language, speeches on the importance of cross-border trade that came from both Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan as well as General Bajwa. And on the Indian side, we've seen an absence of very adverse Pakistan mentions, both in speeches, for example, by External Affairs Minister Jaishankar in Dushanbe this week. Also interesting that across political campaigns in 5 states going to elections in India at present, we haven't seen any of those mentions. Messages have also been exchanged between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Khan over Pakistan's National Day, as well as inquiring after Mr. Khan's health when he contracted coronavirus. Then we saw Indus water talks that were held in India, between India and Pakistan in Delhi for the first time in 2 years. And then sporting visas were issued for the first time by India to 2 Pakistani teams after a gap of 3 years. So clearly there is a pattern over here. And while all of these may be termed as baby steps, they certainly indicate a step away from the more rigid stance we had seen. India has consistently said there will be no engagement until terrorism ends. Pakistan has said it will not deal with India unless India rolls back its August 2019 moves on Jammu and Kashmir. What they also indicate, these steps, is that back-channel meetings are in fact in some way coordinating the moves. Remember, this isn't something surprising. There's been a back channel in place through the decades between India and Pakistan, particularly in times of tension and even much more recently. For example, from 2003 to 2008, there was what was known as a very productive back channel, first between Prime Minister Vajpayee and then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh on the Indian side, with Pakistan President General Musharraf on the other, which was run by senior envoys on both sides, by NSA's special envoys, and they resulted in some breakthroughs, particularly confidence building measures in Kashmir, like the cross LOC trade, all of that before the Mumbai attacks of 2008 derailed them. In 2014, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Sharif are understood to have reached out to each other and run communications between them for the next couple of years through businessmen on both sides. And then from 2015 to 2017, NSA Ajit Doval actually met with Pakistan's NSA General Janjwa on a number of occasions, reportedly in hotels in Bangkok and in Dubai. And talked about a number of issues, including trying to resolve tensions between the two countries. And now these reports that have not been denied say that Mr. Doval and General Bajwa have met a number of times, or their interlocutors have met a number of times over the past 6 months to construct a new process between them. So realistically, what can be expected next from India and Pakistan? Now, experts believe that the first step would have to be the restoration of high commissioners in both countries in order to upgrade the diplomatic channels. Remember, for more than 2 years, we have not had high commissioners in each other's countries. We might also see a gradual easing of visas for people-to-people ties, even for pilgrimages planned in India and Pakistan. Also, the release of prisoners and fishermen that are held on both sides. Now, on the trade front, and remember, Pakistan had actually suspended all trade ties with India, or cancelled all trade ties with India after August 5th, 2019. But prior to that, India had already withdrawn Pakistan's MFN status. Of course, Pakistan never gave India that MFN status, and had also suspended cross-LOC trade ties in Kashmir. So the question is now, with Pakistan deferring its plans to restart imports from India, what is likely is that other measures like broadening the trade at the Wagah International Checkpost, or the cross-LOC trade being put back on track, or even reconsidering MFN status will be delayed. But trade will remain on the menu for any kind of normalization. Also, while reversing the government's decision, what New Delhi did on 370 seems virtually impossible, the government might actually follow up on its own commitment that it has given to restore the statehood of Jammu and Kashmir as a full state, and that might be seen as an early sign. Clearly, the road to any engagement between India and Pakistan will be full of fits and starts, potholes and bumps, and given the virtual freeze on ties for the past 5 years, military action between them, and an all-out war really on the international diplomatic stage, this will not happen quickly or easily. In fact, this might be a good time to brush up on some of the previous back-channel efforts and where they led. Our book recommendations this week include The Spy Chronicles, RAW, ISI, and The Illusion of Peace, which were written by two spy chiefs who were engaging with each other, A.S. Dulat and Asad Durrani. Also, Neither a Hawk Nor a Dove, the biography of former Pakistan Foreign Minister Khurshid Mahmood Kursuri, as well as former Prime Ministerial Advisor Sanjay Baru's account in The Accidental Prime Minister. Both of them talk a little bit about how those back channels did in previous decades. So we'll keep tracking the developments of this story for you. Please do keep writing in on our website www.thehindu.com or on our YouTube channel. From the team at Worldview, thanks for watching.